Hey everybody, welcome back to Bibles on a Budget. My name is CJ, and today we are taking a look at the ESV Study Bible personal size. This is the Trutone, the Brown Trutone, and I actually purchased this from Hobby Lobby. They do have some Bibles in my area closer to the front of the store where the cash registers are. So here we go. This is my first ever ESV Study Bible, and from my time with it, I'm actually really impressed. It's a really cool size, but I'm not a fan of the text size, which we will talk about in a second. But before we look at the Bible itself, let's look at the box here because it's a nice little two-piece box. It is kind of thin for the personal size, but it's okay. It's something where you can keep your Bible in, or if you don't want to keep your Bible in it, there you go. All right, so here's the front. You do see ESV Study Bible. Here's the Bible here. On the side, it does say English Standard Version, ESV Study Bible, and all the information. On the back here, it's kind of some small text, but you can see that over 1 million copies are in print, and it is designed to help you understand the Bible in a deeper way. Created by a diverse team of 95 leading Bible scholars and teachers from 9 countries, nearly 20 denominations, and 50 seminaries, colleges, and universities, the ESV Study Bible features a wide array of study tools, making it a valuable resource for serious readers, students, and teachers of the Bible. And right here on the right, you do see kind of the idea, like the layout is, this is, again, really small, but here's a bit of the text. There's text there for the main part of the Bible, and then some notes, and then like a in notes map, and then down here you also see a full page map. And then on the left-hand side, you do also see, again, some more features. So it has more than 2 million words with 20,000 notes and other resources, 80,000 cross-references and an extensive concordance, 200 full-color maps printed alongside the ESV text and notes throughout the Bible, 40 illustrations, including full-colored renderings and architectural diagrams, like that one, 200 plus charts providing a concise summary it's providing concise summaries and key insights, and then 50 plus articles on essential topics of theology, ethics, and biblical teaching, and then the information about the ESV, and then Crossway. And then on the bottom, again, you do see the picture. It's called the ESV Study Bible. This edition normally retails, if I can get this to focus, I'm hoping it will focus. Hold on, folks. Hold on, people. It's not going to focus. It's too close to the thing. Normally retails for $74.99. I got this for $40. But without further ado, let's get to the Bible itself. Alrighty, folks, here is the Bible itself, and you may notice that the shadows are more intense. Sometimes the shadows are a little less intense in my reviews, but I'm actually trying this in the middle of a storm outside of my house, and that storm just knocked out the power a few minutes ago before I recorded this review. So bear with me if the shadows are unbearable. I'm sorry about that. But here's the Bible. It is a really nice size like this, but you look at it from the side, it is a thick boy. It is very thick. But right off the bat, I love the cover. The cover is ESV's Trutone. It's brown. It has a little bit of a grain kind of, but it's still very smooth. I really like it. It does feature some perimeter stitching, not only on the cover itself, but you may be able to see it here underneath, like inside the Bible as well. And you already saw the spine there, but there you go. Sets of tooled lines here, Study Bible, ESV, English Standard Version, and then Crossway. I like the spine, super elegant, super like serious. I like that. And then on the back, you do get the ISBN down there, Trutone. It's a little hard to see because it is blind stamped, as well as the spine. And then the Bible also has some gilding, and it does have one of Crossway's little ribbons. I don't think this is double satin, but it is a little ribbon marker, which is nice. And if you are interested in replacing those ribbons, there are a lot of tutorials online, because look at that giant headband. There's the ribbon. It's super tiny. Alrighty, so let's get into the Bible itself. When you open up the Bible for the first time, you do notice that it does have a vinyl paste down, which is awesome. It does also have a vinyl end sheet, and then a few pieces of cardstock at the beginning. And then you get to the front, which says ESV Study Bible, and then another starting page like so. When you get this Bible, you may notice that some of the pages are sticking together. That's because the gilding, most like really premium Bibles, they have a way of keeping the gilding from causing the pages to stick together, but some cheaper Bibles do not have that process done. Anyway, here is the copyright page. This is the 2016 text. Here's the contents. Because here's the problem, folks, because the text in this Bible is super small, I'm going to have trouble showing a lot of it to you in this review. So I apologize for that. I can try to zoom in. I do have extra zooming on my phone, but it is very tight. So let me zoom in a little bit more. If you can hopefully see that. I'm going to try to adjust it, but here you go. These are the contents. They do have illustrations, abbreviations, guide to using the ESV Study Bible. You get the contributors, preface to the ESV, and then a survey of history of salvation. So that's the overview of the Bible. And then the Old Testament, a lot of the Testament stuff has really good like background to it. So you will have, let me see if I can get even closer. You will have things like theology of the Old Testament timeline as an overview, the date of the Exodus, the Hebrew calendar compared to the Gregorian calendar, and the introduction to the Pentateuch. And then you have the you have the books of the Old Testament, the 39 books of the Old Testament. After Esther, you do have, let me bring it up here more, you do have something called the Introduction to the Poetic and Wisdom Literature, which starts in Job, and then you get the rest of the prophets. You do get the background of the New Testament, which includes the time between the New Testaments, the Jewish and Roman rulers, the intertestamental event timeline, the Herodian dynasty, the Roman Empire and Greco-Roman world, Jewish groups at the time of the New Testament, and then again, just like with the Old Testament, you do get theology of the New Testament timeline, date of Jesus' crucifixion, reading the Gospels and Acts, and then you have the rest of the New Testament books, and also something called reading the epistles, which comes after Acts. And then there's some more stuff on the next page. I'm telling you guys, this thing is chock full of information. So up here, you do get some articles and resources, as you can see. So there's some articles and resources. Just trying to see if I can get that all in there for you guys so you can kind of see what those are. And then over here, you do get a list of the illustrations. You get to see a ziggurat, the city of the Ark of the Covenant, the table of bread of the presence, which some people call the showbread, the golden lampstand, the tabernacle tent, and so on and so forth. And then you also get the page numbers for those illustrations, which is super cool. Oh man, my fist is super giant. It's cool. Okay. So I'm going to hop back out of this larger view in a second, but we're going to look at also some abbreviations. So there's some general abbreviations, and then the abbreviations of the book of the Bibles. And then you also see abbreviations of the Apocrypha. As far as I'm aware of, this one does not contain the Apocrypha, but it may reference the Apocrypha just because of the fact that they are part of the intertestamental period, or the apocryphal or deuterocanonical books that are accepted by the Catholics and the Eastern Orthodox and maybe some other non-Protestant churches. And then here is the introduction, the user's guide to the ESV Study Bible. Again, super small text. I'm not going to show the whole thing, but you can see here how it is. And then over here you do have, oh, I apologize for that, folks. I need to go back out. I apologize for that. Trying to pay attention to the Bible and also trying to pay attention to my own phone is a little difficult there. But here you have a page with contributors. Actually, you have a few pages of contributors, not only for the notes, but also for the articles. So that includes the user's guide to the ESV Study Bible and other different interesting articles. This contains a lot of nice articles as far as I can see. And then here's the preface to the ESV. You also have the contributors for the maps, and you have some consultants over here. So that's always pretty cool. So this is the preface to the ESV Study Bible. And then this is the overview, a survey of the history of salvation. Again, that's a lot of stuff, so I'm not gonna go through that. But here we go. Here is the Old Testament. And then again, this is one of the articles, the theology of the Old Testament. The New Testament will also have this. Let me just tell you right now, the font for the actual Bible itself is 7.70. So it is very small. Typically some study Bibles, should I say, has like 8-point font, but this is super small. Here's the introduction to Genesis. So you get the author and title, the date in here. And then you also get the place in the Pentateuch, the arrangement of the books, the theme and key themes. So you get some really important information, if I can speak. And then you get the history of salvation summary, and then Genesis and history, and then Genesis and science. Then read Genesis in the 21st century. So you can see this actually is really involved. Then here is like the area where a lot of Genesis takes place. And then the outline of Genesis over here, and also the literary features as well. And then on the left side here, you get more of the outline of Genesis, and then you get the text. And as you can see, there is already a lot here, right? Because remember, this is a study Bible, so you have some cross-references over here, which is nice because it puts the text of the Bible out to the side so you can actually read it so it won't get trapped in the gutter. But here are the different notes and stuff. So this one, let's hop into here. So this is called a primeval history, and so it just gives you some information there. God's creation down here, God's creation and ordering of the heavens and the earth. And then over here, we start to get some general notes for verse 1 and verse 2. And then over here on the next page, you do start getting more of the text, but then you still get much more of the notes. And then below the text itself, you do also get translation notes. So that's pretty nice. More notes there, more notes there. So as you can see, this Bible is in a paragraph format. It's a single column Bible. Oh, and here is an example of those diagrams. This is a ziggurat, which I think some people believe the Tower of Babel was. So there's that. So again, it's a single column. You do get the references, which are super duper tiny. I can barely read them from here, but here you go. There are the references, again, translator notes down there, and then just some information about the ziggurat, and then some more notes. All right, so let's go look at what poetry looks like. But before we do, look what we just got here. We just got a diagram, a full-page diagram. This is Solomon's temple. So you can kind of see the way that it's described by God here in visual form. So that's pretty nice. It does get cut off a little bit because of the way that it's situated. Like some of the information is here in the gutter. So that's unfortunate. Let me scoot this up a little bit more there. But, you know, it looks pretty cool. I love that it's full color. I love that you do also have a top-down view of it as well, and some more information and some notes around here as well. That's pretty cool. All right, so let's go to some poetry. So we're going to let's go to the book of Psalms, but right here you can see some example of what happens with poetry. And poetry is set in verse by verse. Again, it is single column. You do get bold chapter numbers here. I think you normally get those also in more prose stuff like here as well. And then again, more notes, translator notes, and then references here in the gutter. And as far as I'm aware of, there is no accent color to this Bible other than this kind of like tan here for some of the notes. Everything from the chapter reference to the page number is in black, as well as the different pericopes and section headings and the verses. All right, so there's the Old Testament. Let's go to, if I can find it, the intertestamental stuff. So that's going to be before the New Testament. And there's another example of the day of the Lord, kind of giving some information about that. I just love that there is so much in this Bible. That's the benefit of study Bibles. They give you so much information in decent sized things. So here we go. Here is the background of the New Testament. Again, I'm not going to spend too much time on this because of how small the text is and just because of how much information. So you do start out with the time between the Testaments. So as Protestants, we do not accept what we call the Apocrypha, or what the Catholics may call the deuterocanonical books. So we have some information about what happens between Malachi and Matthew. And in this Bible, it is a set of articles and information. Here we have the time between the Testaments. So we have source of information, the Apocrypha and the pseudepigrapha, I can't say that word, history, and then some information about the Dead Sea Scrolls, the Hellenistic period, which involves some of the generals from Alexander the Great and their descendants and such, the Hasmonean or Maccabean period, the Roman period, and then also what happens after 586 BC. And then you have the intertestamental timeline, and then also you have some Jewish and Roman rulers. So you can kind of see when they ruled and what their names were and all that stuff there, and when all this happened. So here's the timeline for the intertestamental period, which, if I remember correctly, that is about 400 years between Malachi to Matthew. And then here is the Herodian dynasty. This deals with Herod and his family. And we know about Herod in the New Testament. And then the Roman Empire and Greco-Roman world at the time of the New Testament. And then you have a kind of a map of what's happening here. So you can kind of see the extent to which the Roman Empire expanded and how the Greek Empire was also involved. And I apologize if you heard any big booms in the background. There are some thunder going on randomly. So apologize for that, but here's some more information, more maps about this time. This is talking about the Roman Empire. Let's see if I can see what else is in here. Again, these pages kind of stick together. Then here's the Jewish groups at the time of the New Testament. So this gives you some information about the Sadducees, the Essenes, and the Pharisees, who we see constantly at odds with Christ in the New Testament. And then we get into the New Testament here. Let me get this page. So again, like the Old Testament, we start out with the theology of the New Testament. So we kind of just get an overview of what the New Testament is all about, what the New Testament is trying to say, what's the overarching theology and information that we find in the New Testament from God. And then we get the New Testament timeline, and then the date of Jesus' crucifixion, which some believe is around the Passover in 31 AD. Also, here is reading the Gospels and Acts. So you can kind of get some information, some background, and some cool stuff about the Gospels and Acts. So you get the distinctives of the different books there as well. So that's pretty cool. And then we get into Matthew. And again, just like with Genesis and all other books, you do get an introduction, author and title and date, along with the theme, the purpose, occasion and background, key themes and timelines, and so on and so forth. And again, here is the setting of Matthew. You do see what Israel looked like during that time. And then here you go. Here's Matthew. Unlike with Genesis, you do not only get like 2 verses. You do get a large chunk because this is the genealogy of Christ. So there's not a whole lot here to pontificate. I don't think that's the word, but expand on. But you do get notes about this because there is a lot of history. If you really look into this and really get to know a lot of these people in Christ too, if you look at Luke as well, the genealogies of Christ, you do get a lot more information. It's super fascinating. But again, just like with every other book, you do get the notes down here. You do get translator notes, and you also get those references in the gutter. And as you can tell, you probably can tell this right away, this is not a red letter Bible. This is a black letter Bible. So again, this is the Sermon on the Mount. This should be in red if it's a red letter Bible. But there you go. All right, and then again, here is another one of the full page, actually technically 2-page diagrams. This is the Temple Mount in the time of Jesus. So this thing is massive. And then you do get a top-down architectural plan over here, and then just some general information around it. And let's continue to the back of the Bible here. So we're going to go past, actually, let me find that other thing that I was telling you about earlier, which is after Acts. It's called How to Read the Epistles, if I remember correctly. So, and again, you can see some of the pages sticking together because that's the gilding not being separated. So here it is, reading the epistles. So this will give you some general information about how to read the epistles, the introduction and timeline to the epistles, the unity, and then so you can kind of see like the coherence of the different epistles. This includes Paul's and the many others, themes, circumstances behind the letters, and pseudonymity, because some scholars have argued that some of these books were not written by certain people, so they were given the names. So, for example, it's often claimed that Paul did write 1st and 2nd Timothy, and I'm reading from here in Titus, and that Peter did not write 2nd Peter. Oh, sorry. It's often claimed, I read that wrong. It's often claimed that Paul did not write 1st and 2nd Timothy and Titus, and Peter didn't write 2nd Peter. So, basically what they're saying is that some people believe that some books were written by Paul, some weren't. There is a big argument or a big conversation around who actually wrote Hebrews. Some people believe it was Paul, some people don't know. So there's that. Then again, you do get introductions to each of the letters of Paul. I am of the opinion that the majority of what has been assigned to Paul is written by Paul. I am a little personally on the fence of who wrote Hebrews. Right here it says, you may not be able to see it, but it says, the author's identity has been a matter of significant conjecture throughout church history. In antiquity, authorship was attributed to figures such as Barnabas or especially Paul. However, several of the most astute church fathers recognized considerable differences in style and methods of argument between this book and Paul's named writings. Scholars have suggested other possible authors such as Clement, Luke, or Apollos. So that's what's great about this Bible, is you kind of get an idea about, you know, some of the information behind these books and what people have been saying about them, what people have believed about them. So there you go. Alrighty, so here's Revelation. And again, some of this should be in red, but it's not. And then here in the back, after Revelation, you already kind of got a little sneak peek of that. Let me see if I can. There's a page there. I just don't know why it's not letting me separate it. Again, this is the gilding. So you do get articles and resources. So here's God's plan of salvation. So you can get information on that. You get biblical doctrine and overview. So a lot of information. If you're someone who wants to read this and you don't mind not having a smaller Bible, or like you don't mind having a bigger Bible, should I say, that may have a bigger font, I would recommend probably going with the fuller size study Bible. It's going to be a lot bigger, and it is going to be a desk dweller, but it probably is a lot easier to read than this, because this is some really small text. Like, I can read it, but not everybody's going to be able to read this. So this is definitely a lot. So you see a lot of information here in biblical. Here's biblical ethics, an overview. So that's one of the different articles and resources. So I'm just kind of blowing through this so you can kind of get a general idea. I'm trying not to rip the page as I go through, because these are kind of thin pages, but the ghosting is not too bad. And then interpreting the Bible. Get some information here about some of the church fathers like Justin Martyr and Irenaeus. And then reading the Bible. So you get to see that. I think these are long, but I think these are probably really interesting and really important to read. I myself have not read through these. I'm just being honest, but I'm showing you these so you can kind of get an idea that, hey, these are in there, so that if you want to read them, if you want to check them out, there you go. So again, this is the canon of Scripture. Go. And then the reliability of the biblical manuscripts. These are very important. I think this stuff is really important, just to know that what we're reading is trustworthy, that the manuscripts are accurate to what was written a long time ago. So we can have more faith in what we're reading. And then archaeology in the Bible, kind of talking about the link between archaeological discoveries and biblical stories. And then also, here's something about the original languages of the Bible, which include Hebrew, some Aramaic, and Greek. And here's also an article about the Septuagint, which is the Greek translation of the Old Testament, or the Hebrew Bible. And then how the New Testament quotes and interprets the New Testament. That's pretty cool. And then you also, I just saw this a second ago, where the Old Testament is cited in the New Testament. So Old Testament passages in the New Testament, so you get a list of where these things have been quoted. And sometimes when they are quoted in the New Testament, they're actually quoted from the Septuagint. So when you try to compare your New Testament and you look at the way that some of those passages were worded in the New Testament and how they're worded in the Old Testament, they're a little different, because the people in the New Testament are quoting them from the Septuagint. And then here is another article, the Bible in Christianity. Got some information about the Roman Catholicism and stuff there. And Eastern Orthodoxy. Again, I don't know if you're like me or not, but I do get some satisfaction from separating these pages. I don't know why, it's just kind of nice. And here you have the Bible and world history. And then the history of salvation in the Old Testament. So just a lot of stuff. And I was hoping not to make this review too long, but I'm sure you'd be very interested in this stuff. And then here you go. Here is the concordance. First is the charts and diagrams of stuff, and then the concordance and the abbreviations, so you know where to find these words and stuff. The words are pretty big, but the locations are pretty small. So there you go. And then here's some maps. But this concordance does end on the word zealous, so it's an A to Z. And then here's your table of weights and measures and monetary units. Again, American and metric equivalents are given for the biblical units, and then what the biblical equivalents are. And then a colophon, which I don't know what that is. It just seems like maybe like kind of what we would call on TV the credits. So you got some more names here. And then you have Crossway maps, which these are on the same paper, it feels, as the rest of the Bible, which is very interesting, because sometimes maps are printed on thicker paper in certain Bibles. But there you go. These are some typical maps showing the time of Jesus, Paul's missionary journeys, and then times of the Old Testament, and then how Christianity spread in the first 2 centuries. And then again, You get a bunch of cardstock, another in sheet that is vinyl, and then vinyl paste down. Oh my goodness, guys. This little Bible here is chocked full of information. So what do I think about it? I think it's really important for people to have one of these, a study Bible in general. It doesn't have to be the ESV Study Bible. You could have the NIV Study Bible. Maybe you like the NKJV. You can get that, or a King James Study Bible from Holman, or even I think Thomas Nelson makes one too. But what's important is to have one of these, because I think the notes are very important, because you can put this alongside your commentaries, or your lexicons, or whatever tools you use, because these have really useful notes as well. And also, those articles look really useful. I'm sure that they would be a very big blessing to you, so that you can have a better understanding of the Bible, because the purpose of the Bible is, it's not a document that speaks a lot to our day, but it shows us a window into the past. And reading those articles can help us gain a better understanding of what's happening in the past, 2,000 years ago, 3,000 years ago, 4,000 years ago. So I would recommend this Bible for anybody who wants a smaller Bible and who actually is okay with the smaller text. But if you're not, I recommend getting the full-size version. They also have a student edition, I believe, and also a concise version, which is about smaller. It's a more compact. It's probably less thick than this guy. But again, you can get this from Crossway. I'll put some information down in the description below for where you can buy it. Again, I got this at Hobby Lobby. Maybe check your local Hobby Lobby to see if they have it. Check your local Bible store. Check Christian Books. Again, I'll put Christian Books down in the description below. But I think this is a great Bible. I'm very impressed with what it has to offer. I also have an NIV Study Bible, which I'm going to review very soon. I am also very impressed with that. That is very deep. It has a lot of stuff. I cannot speak to the notes themselves. I have not gone through here and read them. I may differ theologically with some of the notes in certain places, but overall, I'm sure that these are written by God-fearing men who know their Bibles. So thank you guys so much for watching. Thank you so much for subscribing to the channel. Please, please, please share my channel. Make sure, if you're not subscribed, to subscribe. Leave a comment down below. Tell me what you think about this Bible. If you would like it, if you want to buy it, all that stuff. And make sure to like this video, share my channel, share this video with those who are interested to know more about this Bible, because maybe that can help them in their purchasing decision. Again, thank you guys so much for watching Bibles on a Budget, and remember folks, the truth does not have to be expensive. See you in the next one.